Alright, so if you don't know who I am Random. I'm the guy who did the Quarterback Classroom Sucks video that somehow got over 300,000 views and kind of really kickstarted my channel. So, I wanted to do a sequel to that video, which is the running back class, because, dude, this class is just stacked. It goes deep like a 10-feet pool. There are going to be guys in the 7th round, 6th round who shouldn't even be there and should be 2nd, 3rd rounders if it was any other year. This class is just stacked to the brim, and I think, honestly, it's evenly spread out. Like I mentioned, there's going to be guys going later that should really be going a lot earlier. So I think everyone's going to get a great running back, and I think a lot of them are just really potential candidate for just being starters someday. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because not a lot of people are talking about it enough. And before I get into it, I just want to say I am not a professional. I am not an analyst. I'm just someone with a microphone in a room. So do not take me serious, again, because some people really did take me serious with the last video. Please don't. I'm just someone who wants to give his personal opinion based on what I've seen, just based on watching these players. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. There will be timestamps in the comments just because I understand this video is quite long. I think it's my longest video actually. So if you just want to skip to a certain player, you're more than welcome just to hit the timestamp and just go to that instead. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, and to start off this list high and mighty, let's go right on to Ashton Jeanty. No words to describe him. Everyone knows him. Your mom knows him. Your grandma knows him. Your pet cat knows him. Everybody knows who Ashton Jeanty is. He's the clear-cut #1 running back going into the draft. Probably even a top 5 pick at this point. But really though, when have you just seen a guy so fucking dominant at the running back position? The dude is just a straight-up killer. Not only does he stand like he's a damn killer himself, but his entire game is just straight-up fucking brutal. Like, genuinely. When is the last time you saw a running back in the favorites for the Heisman? This guy is just a whole different damn breed, and I think honestly he would win the Heisman if he wasn't competing against guys like Travis Hunter, which is a damn shame because it's gonna go really unnoticed that he did not win an award for all his hard work. But I think it's kind of hard to say who wins what when you're competing against a guy who's great on both sides of the field. But anyways, all great NFL running backs who have won in the first round weren't even as dominant as Ashton is in college right now. He has 2,065 rushing yards and nearly 30 touchdowns just this season, pushing him in the list of only 3 running backs across 2,000 yards across 25 touchdowns or more within 11 games alongside Derrick Henry. Yeah, Derrick Henry, you know who he is, and Ricky Williams. And yeah, of course, it's gonna sound like I'm glazing, I'm doing tricks on it, doing 360s, I'm spinning on it, but really, he's just a damn put together perfect player. On this list, there's not a player more ready in the draft on the offensive side who just screams perfect. He breaks tackles like he's a varsity player playing against middle schoolers. He can play receiving back if you need him to without a problem, given he was a wide receiver in high school, and bounces off defenses like he's made of rubber inside of a fucking moonwalk. And he has only done this with 270 carries to Derrick Henry's 340. Yeah, that's right, he only has 270 carries, which means even some games he won't even play the second half because it's just shut out that much. And he averages 9 yards a carry. Jeanty will easily help provide the running back role in the NFL that has been fading out the last couple of years, but is slowly making a comeback with the success of the run game lately. And you can thank guys like Saquon for that, Jahmyr Gibbs, who are showing, yeah, we do need a run game if we do want to start scoring on this offense, showing that the run game is actually pretty important. To sum it up though, he's just built different than the rest. He is just built different. There's the other guys, and then there's him. He's in a whole tier of its own, and he has single-handedly helped Boise State lock a spot in the college playoffs. Honestly, without this guy, they don't even have this record, or they don't even see the daylight that is the playoff spot. This is a guy, if I'm the Bengals, the Bears, or someone who's just missing a run game in general, I would trade all chips in. I would trade my best players. I would just do what it takes just to get Ashton on my team. He is worth the investment and will immediately put your team in top 5 for rushing yards easily, and he can even take you from a mid-team to straight up contenders. He's a one-of-a-kind player, so any team to take him high will leave with no regrets. Alright, now that we got the Jeanty glazing out the way, I had to wipe my mouth real quick. We are going to talk about Quinshon Judkins, the second best, another part of this stack class. To me, like I said already, he's the second best back. That's a personal opinion. Some people do not agree, although I think a lot of people will agree. Behind Jeanty and alongside a few others I'm going to mention later on down the list, he's a dominant back, and he was a really good dominant back at Ole Miss, averaging 15 touchdowns back-to-back his freshman and sophomore season with over 2,500 yards combined. He transferred to the Buckeyes, where the carries were kind of shared between him and Henderson, but he has been given a lot more than Henderson, I will say. Showcases his talent though, that screams he's just NFL ready, and he's just ready to go at any time. He's a freak of an athlete with an explosive boost in his speed, not to mention a really powerful frame that just helps him avoid being tackled easy. And his vision also is just very consistent, something that not a lot of running backs really have. And he showcases great pass catching skills when needed. And as I said, if you have been watching him this year, you will know he's been limited on his production, but over at Ole Miss, he was producing at least 6 yards a carry. His size is definitely on the bigger side, given he's 6 foot, 220 pounds, to showcase a lot of strength in his game. In comparison, some people really have him being like a next Joe Mixon or Kareem Hunt, which is great comps. I really like those. And as said by a ton of people, I think he's the only running back besides Jeanty. I can confidently say there's not really a lot of concerns in his game. I will say though, a few I have said anything on is he is a bit too patient in the backfield and sometimes overcommits to the play, which usually allows him to get caught up, and well, usually, you know, that leads to nowhere. Regardless though, he's a threat to face if you're the opposing defense, so once Jeanty is off the board, don't be shocked when Judkins is the next to go, maybe somewhere in the late first round or high early second. Anything below that is just straight criminal. And next up on the draft board, we have TreyVeyon Henderson, another Buckeyes running back. I feel with Judkins in the same room with him, he definitely does not, you know, get enough attention. I feel he gets overshadowed quite a bit actually by the media, which yeah, this year was definitely not his most impressive. Not having a game over 100 yards at all could really, you know, damage your draft stock by a good amount. And getting up to a most 11 carries a game at max definitely shows, you know, you can't handle the NFL workload. And no, I'm not saying he's better than Judkins, you know, given the whole, oh, he's overshadowed a bit. I do think Judkins beats him out in damn near everything. I just think people forgot how great Henderson used to be. I mean, he's still solid with his best game being versus Oregon, only 87 rushing yards. But yeah, I mean, in his freshman year, he showcased some crazy potential after being a 5-star recruit to the Buckeyes. But to me, at the moment, on how he's looking right now, I just don't see him going high. And it's clear why they don't use him a lot. He definitely hesitates in this game way too much, which leads to him usually getting nowhere in gain and usually sometimes leads to negative yards. And, you know, just seems to miss the big opportunities in front of him. He'll miss a lane here, or he'll just miss, you know, a perfect run there. Like, he misses a good amount of opportunities. He's got great strength. He doesn't lack there, but sometimes it's just not also great enough to get past high-level linebackers. However, like I said, if the lane is open and with the right blocks, just like Judkins, it's a guaranteed home run with him. But even his positives just don't seem to outweigh his biggest issue, which is just his injury history. His own injuries are really to blame for his lower stat career and just him not getting, you know, the same production he was making something like his freshman year. Missing 5 games in 2022 definitely hurt him a bit, and missing some time in 23 with an injury that I still can't seem to find more information on. But to sum it up, his game just has not rebounded to that top talent people were expecting after his freshman season. I mean, people have not seen really him play great since early 23. I do think though, with the right team, maybe they could develop him, work past his issues to make him greater and somewhat turn him into a starter. But to me, just based on how he looks, I don't think he's going to really go high, and I think he's just going to be a late 4th round pick at best. Probably even beyond that, because there are just a lot of better running backs in this class, and he'll just turn out being a second option to someone else, truthfully. I don't see him just being that primary guy again. I don't think a team would really have the patience to try and develop him, but I can't say I wouldn't doubt it if he did. He's definitely a player who will give it his all, and he's definitely a player who just will not give up. I think he can be, but I think it's going to be a lot harder to see him be the primary guy versus someone like Judkins, who will be a day 1 starter. I say 4th round at best, and that's about it. Cam Skattebo, or at least I think that's how you pronounce it. Skattebo. I'm just going to say Skattebo because that's what I hear most people say. Easily the most underrated option on this list. I know I say that quite a lot, at least for the other guys, but they are high up on the draft boards where Skattebo is just projected to be undrafted, which is a fucking joke itself. Nick Saban himself says he loves this kid a lot. Maybe it's because where he plays, but I don't think he deserves a much bigger spotlight and should have his name highlighted with the others in his class. I think, honestly, next to Judkins, he's the most third ready to go. See, with the entire team itself, I mean, the Sun Devils, they don't get enough mention. They don't get mentioned enough, just like him. Or Skattebo, or as they call him, Skattaboom, because of what he does. He's just an explosive runner, and yeah, he's only 5'10", which he makes up for in his fucking game. I mean, ranking number 8 rushing guard, Skattebo just possesses amazing vision with a sharp IQ that shows almost every time he's given the ball. And when I say this dude is fucking nuts in the head, I mean it. If you watch him play, you know this guy is just so fucking aggressive. Skattebo plays like he looks forward to just hitting the defenders more than the defenders do hitting him. Call it glazing all you want, but he is such a fun player to watch. Unless you're the team he's facing. I mean, he's going to truck just right through. He's an absolute fucking beast of just straight muscle, like running down the field. And to me, he is the 3rd running back easily, as I said already, in my opinion. Probably make a strong case for 2nd, depending on how he looks in the playoffs. I think the Sun Devils aren't. I'm making this before, you know, the rankings come out. Because, yeah, they don't play the toughest competition, but his tape does all the talking. He can play wide receiver if you need. He took 2 snaps at tight end during the season and even played punter. And he even threw a touchdown. I think this season he's someone who can just do it all, and a very violent player who will not be stopped if your team has him on 1st and goal. That's someone I would want in my backfield all the time. A team like the Bengals, Bears, Broncos, Jaguars Bills, or hell, any team that should just really have their eye on him, as he will make for a great starter. And like I say, I keep saying it, just like Judkins and Ashton, he will make a strong case to be a late round first pick. Regardless, wherever Skattebo goes, I'm telling you right now, if my scout was to ignore this guy for more than fucking 5 seconds and let him fall to some other team right below me, I'm firing him and I'm fucking shooting him out on a slingshot, because this guy is not something I would want to pass up on if he is in my reach. There is no boom or bust with him. For him, it's just straight boom. This guy will not be a bust. Mark my words, Skattebo will be the biggest steal of the night, just the way he plays. And if you watch him, you know damn well this guy will not fail. He will be the next big thing in the NFL. Next up, Ollie Gordon. Man, I keep saying you know a lot. I apologize for that. But Ollie Gordon, the true definition of a sports car inside of a trailer park. Look, Oklahoma State is such a shit team this season. I'm apologizing to any Oklahoma State fans, you know, that are actually still out there. I apologize, but your team is shit, and it's a reason why he's not being talked about more like last year. I feel sorry for Gordon a lot, because he is a guy with definitely a lot of potential to be an NFL starter someday if you saw his sophomore season. But wasting what could have been his last year, I don't think he's done. But if it is, that's his last year, and pretty much at a team that was so fucking shit this season to where they haven't won a game since September. That was a horrible move to his draft stock. That definitely dropped it quite a bit, especially regressing his stats, going from a 17 rushing yard season at his highest to barely 900 yards. I get the loyal bit and wanting to finish it out, but I really do respect that. But I don't think anybody would have been mad, including the 4 Oklahoma State fans that still exist after this season. I'm talking football. Basketball ain't that bad, but football fans, I still don't know how y'all somehow exist. Alright, small rant over, but like I said, he is a great talent. He has a large frame of 6'2", 225 pounds, and averages about 5 yards a carry. He's definitely not the best the class really has to offer, like they had him, you know, before the season, call him the overall #1 pick for a back. But he's definitely someone that will fly under the radar for a lot of people now. Is he better than Judkins, Ashton, or even Hampton that I'm going to mention later? No, probably not. And those guys will definitely go way before him, as truthfully deserved. But that doesn't mean he's a bad case to deal with if he lands on your team. He brings a ton of potential with him. He's got great ideal speed, you know, not anything too explosive, but he's something, you know, that is just great enough to get the job done. But now, does he come with a few downsides? Absolutely, he comes with a few downsides. For example, if the blocks are poor, or if the O-line is just poor itself, like, you know, Oklahoma State's was this year, he's just not going to do well, as seen in some games, like where he just goes for like 10 yards, 20 yards. Like, there's just games where if the O-line is just so garbage, he will not produce at all. So that's probably why that can explain his down here. But with the right system, I think he could be a pretty effective runner. I've seen in some games, like when the O-line's actually working, like the BYU, Texas Tech, and even the TCU. However, I'm going to double down and say he returns because, well, again, being a high potential prospect or just being labeled as a project player does not mean you go high for that reason. And if he did enter, I see him being a 3rd round at best, late 4th probably. I mean, there's plenty of other talent in this class to go around here, so I think him staying and padding up stats the senior season will work best for him after a disappointing junior season, which probably, again, is not his fault. His team is not that great, but it's something that will push you down the board. I do think one more year will showcase his talents and just prove he's a lot better than the season made him out to be, and definitely he could highlight the 26 running back room, easily being the #1 guy available on top of the draft board. Next up, Omarion Hampton, a very, very underrated prospect right here, and I don't see a lot of people talking about him nearly enough, and I can't seem to understand why. Like, he was balling out last year with Drake May, and he was balling out this year too, so the kid is just an absolute machine of a player. I mean, he should be a starter day one. He showcases talents that do say he is NFL ready. He stands at 6 foot, weighs 220 pounds, which is a sturdy frame that matches really all the other running backs and just screams perfect for the NFL. So, well, yeah, again, the competition North Carolina plays is not exactly something that blows your mind. The same thing they said with most other North Carolina players. He does great in most of these games with back-to-back 1,500 rushing yard seasons and provides a solid skill set. I mean, it might not be anything elite by all means. His speed is definitely above average. He still gets chased down pretty easily, and while he doesn't have the best hands, he definitely has hands that, you know, would be reliable. And he just overall lacks some creativity in this game. I'm not going to say he's not a creative player, but he does lack in some part of that department. That means, you know, he'll be a more I'll stick to the route guy rather than adjust himself based on what he sees in the pocket that could break out for more. So he is a pretty predictable player to see, but of course, he makes up for it with his run game. He's got an amazing balance of using his size and speed to help him on contact hits, and yet somehow manages to still fight for yards moving forward. He's definitely someone I'd look for in the 2nd round just because of what he provides. If I had to give him a comparison, Again, as I keep saying here, Joe Mixon is a very good comparison for a lot of these running backs, and especially Hampton here. I'm probably not spot on, but both are nearly the same size, and to me just have the same style of being an aggressive runner who just storm through the pocket, and someone who I can rely on if I need an easy first down. I think he, like I said, he will be a day one starter. Regardless, wherever you get him, if I was a GM, I honestly would not be upset if I had to pick Hampton if all the other guys are off the board, because he still possesses the tools, he still possesses stuff first round caliber talent can bring. So I do think with him, you really just cannot go wrong. He's someone who's going to come to my locker room. He's someone who's going to help my run game drastically. So I think with Hampton, you could not really go wrong. And I think he's someone who's just going to keep on showing improvement year by year. And I do think he can definitely make a name for himself one day by being one of the top running backs in the league. And now we go to Devin Neal, another player who screams high potential prospect, which I'll admit, I didn't have time to watch a lot of Kansas games given they don't show them a lot on TV. And when they do, it's like 10 o'clock games. But when I did, he was cooking every single time he was given the ball, especially the Colorado game, where that game was just an absolute pure belt-to-ass whooping, especially where he torched the entire secondary, going for 200 plus rushing yards, which was the largest game of his third 1,000 rushing yard season, alongside 16 touchdowns. Which again, competition might not be the strongest for him, or the, just Kansas in general, but he packs a great amount of strength. Like, he's amazing at both positions where you need him to run up the middle or catch a reception down the field. He averages about 6 yards a carry. He packs a ton of speed behind his runs with very quick movement, as well as paired with great vision to help him see any part of the field that's open for him to run all over. Or he'll stand back and wait for, something to form like the blocks, and he'll just proceed to run right through it. He's a very creative player on the field, and he can bring a lot to the table. While he's not a powerful rusher, I will admit, he is not exactly someone that's going to put defenders on the ground for extra yards or always break a tackle to fight for more ground. So he just shows he definitely has a lot more room for improvement, but he's a player worth taking the chance on. I just know every time I have seen him, he just thrives with everything he's given and can really do a lot better under a system that's focused on the run and is willing to develop him as their future starting running back. He's definitely a low-risk player, so taking him somewhere in the third or early in the fourth would be the perfect investment. Caleb Johnson, another absolute banger right here. Now, I keep saying there's too many sleepers who will just fall way beyond the first, and Caleb is a massive sleeper. He's another one like Judkins, Hampton, Skattebo, who I think can make a serious case for being an impactful starter day one just because of the way he plays. Johnson is just an absolute workhorse of a player and just a pure-hearted leader any locker room would just love to get their hands on, putting Iowa State on his back for majority of the season because, let's keep it real. They don't got really a great quarterback, and if they did, they're horrible with pass play. With Johnson being the main scorer for the team with 21 rushing touchdowns, 1,500 rushing yards, taking a large step from last year, where he only had 429 yards. So when I say he's a workhorse, I mean it. His carries doubled, yards doubled, and he's just a main reason why Iowa actually scores. He reads defenses very well and will usually make great decisions in a matter of seconds with very solid footwork to help throw guys off him and just move the chains forward. With an average of 6.4 yards per carry, he just proves to be a very dominant power rusher. He's got a whole season worth of tape that shows he's an underrated gem who would just thrive on a team that just needs a solid back to help come neutralize their run game. My personal favorite spots would just probably be the Bears. I keep mentioning them because they're just a team that is on the rise. They have a very young core, and throwing in a young Caleb Johnson who has all the talent you can ask for would really help shape up that offense or just the run game that they kind of need desperately help in. Or even Dallas, where if they don't take any of the other backs I mentioned previously, and if he falls anywhere near third at that point, then he just becomes another big steal of the night. Rashard Smith, SMU being 10-1 and in the college playoffs, was not something I really had on my college bingo card. It was not something I expected, or really a lot of people did. But who expected them in here? I do think their playoff run is going to turn into another TCU Georgia. No offense to any SMU fans out there, but I don't think them playing a SEC team will age well. But hey, just because how their playoff run ends or how it goes, to not discredit their entire season, they are doing a very well job. As much as it sounds like I'm discrediting them, trust me, I'm not trying to. SMU has been doing pretty well for what they were given. I mean, it's not their fault. Their schedule is what it is, and what it is, I mean, they're still a good team to have that great of a record. Jennings is a good quarterback, and also they have a very underrated running back in Rashard Smith, who has over 1,000 rushing yards, averaging 6 a carry with 13 touchdowns. And, to keep it short with him, while he's having a great year, he's someone who is going to need development and will definitely need some time to adjust to the workload that is the NFL, because his durability is probably a question mark of him and probably can be his biggest weakness, as he gets no more than 20 carries a game, rarely. Only doing it twice this season, but with what he's given, he's definitely making the most of it. I mean, the kid's got speed. There's no denying that. He's got a solid frame, 5'10", 198 pounds, and has excellent vision, whether it's a kick return or finding a break in the pocket, he will just burst right through that hole. Pause. But he's a very talented player who will make immediate impact and will be someone to talk about. I mean, just like Sampson, he's undersized, but he makes up for it just in his game. And as I said, he's someone who just definitely will need time to develop into something a lot better than what he's playing like right now. I don't think he's a starter day one, but I think he's got the potential to me, and he just seems like a really low risk investment depending where you pick him up at. And I do think maybe one day he can make a case to be one of the top running backs in the league. Next up, Tahj Brooks. First of all, guns up. I love Tech like crazy. Before I was a large Crimson Tide fan, I mean, I'm still gonna say, you know, I do like Tech. We're a team I kind of chose at young just because I really love the way that, you know, their jerseys look. I always thought the shit looked cool. I always thought the logo was kind of badass. I was like, I know they say you can't have two teams, but if I had two teams, I would definitely be a Tide fan, and I do just love the Red Raiders on the side. So I do watch a lot of their games, and when I say, as long as I have been alive, which is not long, I have not seen a running back that great in a while playing for Tech. And the stats show as not only is he the all-time leading rusher in Tech history with over 4,000 yards and 45 touchdowns, he set records of his own, being the only running back in Tech history to play an entire season with 100 rushing yards every game. I keep saying he's a cheat code for the Red Raiders offense, which, yeah, the quarterback play itself is great, but with what he provides, it just gives him the edge in nearly every game. He possesses amazing vision, maybe not the best here, but it can really just be up for grabs. He's straight up built like just a tiny tank, and that could just run through any defenders when needed. Like, breaking tackles easy is something he just does. While he may not be the fastest back on this list, however, it just, you know, it helps his game, I think, him actually running at the pace he does. The vision thing comes in handy with this speed as well, because, again, while he's not running at top speed, he's able to quickly adjust himself around defenders and just find open field, either the end zone or just first down to help out the team. He's someone who could be an NFL starter easily day one, but I don't count on him. I don't really say he's going to, you know, be automatically fed 40 reps a game. I think he's going to get, you know, limited reps. I think his rookie season is just going to be more of a, he's going to just sit here and just develop, because, yes, while he looks great here, it is against weaker competition. Going from Big 12 linebackers to NFL linebackers is a large jump. And yes, again, while I can't say that about a lot of the other backs here in the same division or even weaker, it truly also depends on the physicality of a player, and he's not exactly the most physical person on this list. So he's someone I, again, see just learning and developing behind a veteran running back and just getting limited sets until he's ready to step in as the main guy who'll be force-fed the ball. A team like the Dolphins, Vikings, or even the Browns will learn behind Chubb. Anywhere that already has a great established run game just to go learn to develop behind so he can one day be a true starting running back in the league. And to finish off this list, I can't forget Raheem Sanders. I mean, you really can't forget Rocket. South Carolina football does not get enough attention. Really, it does not. This team is so damn underrated. And the record does not even match the energy they just bring to every game. This is a team that will just bring the fight and will just run up the score and fucking will keep it always close. And they look to really have a bright future with Sellers, which, I mean, they could have been the playoffs, should have been. And this is coming from a Crimson Tide fan. But hey, this isn't about Sellers. This is not about the team. This is about Rocket Sanders. A pure, absolute monster on the field. Coming from Arkansas to South Carolina, he's such a powerful back to watch. Being 6 foot, 230 pounds means he's a fucking wrecking ball that just runs through the middle with elite caliber speed. I mean, he is fast. He is fast. He'll make defenders miss, and if he's got an open lane, don't count on catching him. He just streams NFL ready like a lot of the other guys on this list. Which is why I'm saying this class is so stacked, because you have guys like Sanders who will fall in the later rounds just because, you know, it's like you can't take all the backs in the early rounds. So really, should he be a lot higher? Absolutely. So to have him somewhere fall like Minnesota, the Steelers, Chiefs, Bears, or even the Ravens, hell, anywhere actually that shows they will give him a great O-line with solid blocks, just watch him cook. While I am aware of his injury history, which is something that did provoke me quite a bit, I think it's something I could definitely, you know, outsee. I think it's something that definitely outweighs just because of the positives that come with Sanders. I think he's a player, if he goes like late third, early fourth at best, that is a robbery still in plain daylight. With the injuries and everything else, the problems with him, that completely just all drops if I can get him at the perfect spot. I think with the perfect pick, honestly, he's a pick you just cannot pass on, because he has so much potential, just like a lot of the other guys on this list. If you've seen him play, you know he's got so much potential, and one day can be a franchise player if he just goes to the right place. I'm telling you, the right team is all it takes just to tap into his hidden potential, and once they tap into it, I'm telling you, they are going to turn him into a star. All it takes is really just the right system. I do think, like Skattebo, I don't think he's as ready as Skattebo, however. I do think whichever team takes the chance on him will not be disappointed in what they get. I mean, he is going to come with a very explosive play style, something Skattebo also possesses. I do think both of them are very physical backs. I think they're very dominant backs, and I think wherever they go, they're going to just change up the run game for the better. And I do think maybe one day, you know, he'll be up there along the other running backs, maybe in this list of the top running backs currently in the NFL. Alright, that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, I am aware, I definitely missed on some guys like DJ Giddens from Kansas State, Jordan James, who I think is returning to Oregon, honestly. I mean, it's a senior year, I think he's going to do it. Mullings from Michigan, and Singleton from Penn State. And Singleton, who I think is going to go back his senior year alongside Alar. Point is, I missed a ton of guys. I get it. I don't need to hear in the comments. But I didn't want this video to be really longer than what it should be, because let's be real, who really wants to hear me talk for almost fucking 20 minutes? I don't. So I only really picked a few handful that stood out to me the most, or just seemed to be the players I came across. So if I get enough likes or views, maybe I'll do a part 2 in the future, which if I do, be sure to comment down again just who do you want to see on that list. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next random recap.